everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be playing with some new products that I recently picked up on the Sephora website. So as you guys saw in the thumbnail, I am playing with the new Fenty powder foundation. Now this is not a full review of it. You guys know when I do a foundation review, I like to wear it for several days before I give my stamp of approval on it, but I was so curious about this powder foundation. I thought I have got to test it out. And in full disclosure, I don't wear powder foundation, so this is very interesting to me. I used to wear it several years ago, but it's been a while since I've worn a powder foundation only. So I'm going to be getting into my thoughts on it, and I'm going to take you guys outside so you guys can see what it looks like in natural daylight. I also picked up this Laura Mercier blush palette. It was on sale on the Sephora website, so I went ahead and picked it up. I'm going to be trying it out today. I also got the Cover FX Monochromatic bronzer. I've always wanted this, and Cover FX was having a sale for the holidays, and so I went ahead and picked it up. So I share with you guys my thoughts on it. I also picked up this new palette from Viseart. So this is the new Minxette Etendu, I think is how you pronounce it. But you guys know I am notorious for botching everything. So if I mispronounced it and it offended you, I am very sorry, but I cannot pronounce anything. So this palette recently launched on the Sephora website, so I went ahead and picked it up. And I also swatched it next to a palette that I felt like it was very similar to. So we will get into the swatches later on. And then I also grabbed the new Natasha Denona lip liner. And I had some trial and errors with this guy. A lot of trial and errors. So I will definitely be sharing my thoughts on this lip liner and kind of showing you the trials and errors that I had with it. So this is the newest addition to her I Need a Nude collection. I have two of her I Need a Nude lipsticks, and then this is the only lip liner I bought. I bought it in the shade Dana, I believe. Yeah, Dana. So lots of trial and errors with this. I will definitely get into that later on. So that's what we're doing in today's video. It's New Year's Eve. I hope you guys are going to have a wonderful New Year's and a wonderful 2021, because 2020 was a bugger, right? Like, who else is excited to see it go? Because I know I am like ready. I've been ready for a while for 2020 to end, and just hoping that 2021 is just more blissful and not so dark. So that's what we're doing in today's video. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into me trying out a few new products that I picked up, and I will see you all in my final thoughts. Okay, so let's jump in testing out a bunch of new products that I've picked up. I got the new Fenty powder foundation, and I haven't worn powder foundation in a long time. I used to wear the Bare Minerals loose powder foundation, the one that like come in the little tub, and that was the foundation I wore for years. Now, when I first started wearing makeup, I would wear the powder foundation from Lancome, and I loved it. Wore it for years and years, and then I switched to Bare Minerals, and then I would say probably 4 years ago, maybe 5, I started wearing liquid foundation because I wanted my foundation to be a little bit more skin-like, a little bit more natural, and powder always seemed to kind of sit on top of my skin. Because this is a matte, even though it claims to be a soft matte finish, I am going to prep my skin. I'm going to go ahead and put on the Magic Cream from Charlotte Tilbury. So I bought 2 shades. I bought one that's lighter because I thought, well, if I don't like it as a foundation, maybe I'll try it to see how it compares to my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finishing Powder that I put like right here in this area, like seeing if I could use it as a finishing powder. And I also got the shade that I wear in her foundation, which I normally wear the shade 300. Now I have a couple of application options. Now these come with an applicator, but it's always been my experience when using these like spongy type of applicators, they're probably best for a touch-up for me anyway. This is what it looks like. The packaging is very, very cute, very Fenty, which I love. You know, you have the mirror and the applicator is sitting underneath it. I will probably use my brush. I love the Sonia G All Over Face brush. This is called the Master Face. So I might try to blend it into my skin with the brush. Or I also have this option from Tati Beauty, although that side's dirty. Let's flip it around. This is her Blendiful, I think is what it's called. And I've heard that this works great for applying powder foundations. Because this is a powder foundation, I'm going to go in with my concealer first. I think I want to get my concealer done so that I can kind of blend the powder foundation kind of into the concealer. Okay, now that we got the concealer out of the way, so this is 220 and this is 300. And as I'm rubbing it into the back of my hand, you can see that it kind of gives the Filt'r effect, but it doesn't feel cakey or it doesn't feel heavy at all. So I'm gonna just kind of dip my brush down in there. Now, had I to do it over, I probably would have put concealer over some of these spots. So normally when I want to use a concealer for like a cover up, I will take the Vanish concealer from Hourglass, and this is in the shade Dune. So I'm just going to put a little bit on some of these areas. I think I'll get a better application by doing that. So I'm just going to kind of blend that out. I probably should have added it right here in this spot because this is kind of like a situation I have. But despite the fact that I need more coverage in areas, this is laying very, very soft on my skin. I'm kind of surprised by it, to be honest. Let's see what it'll do. I mean, I'm here testing for you. So let's see how it reacts if I put a little bit of concealer over top of it, because you know, you're really not supposed to put cream over top of powder, right? So let's just try it. I'm going to take a little bit of concealer right here in this area. I'm just going to kind of blend it out a little bit with this brush. And now I'm going to grab just a tiny bit of the foundation, the powder foundation, and go over top of it. Okay, so that didn't make a cake mess. I'm surprised. That didn't make me look cakey at all. I'm going to go in with the Blendiful. Let's just see what a puff will do. And let's just put some on. Okay, I like the puff. It's pretty with the puff. I think with the puff, I'm getting more coverage than I was with a brush. Okay, I like the puff. The puff is beautiful. Oh, my fake tan on my hands, you guys. Do you see how terrible of the job that is? They look so bad. And here I thought they looked really good when I went to bed. Oh my gosh, they look terrible. So I'm curious if I can add just a little bit right here with a puff and see if it will get too thick and cakey. I need a little bit more right around my chin too. So where I added that extra layer, like right here in this area, it's starting to kind of like sit on top of the skin. Can you see those little teeny dots right here? So it might not be a formula that's like super buildable. It doesn't look bad over where I applied cream over the powder though. But on this side, it just looks even and smooth, and I don't see any of that lifting. But for now, we're gonna move on to brows. And I did get a new brow product. This is from Bare Minerals. This is called the Strength and Length Serum Infused Brow Gel. I picked it up in 2 shades. I've used this before, so this is not the first time I've used it, but it is new. The thing that I love about this is a plastic applicator. A lot of the brow gels that are out on the market have a spoolie brush, right? Just like this. It's a spoolie. But this one has a plastic applicator. Therefore, not a lot of product comes off onto the bristles of the plastic applicator. So you're not applying a lot, which I really love. And it doesn't have a lot of those fibers and all that stuff that, like, a lot of the brow gels have fibers and stuff in them to kind of thicken up the brows. I personally don't like the fibers in the brow gel. So let me show you what the brush looks like. You can see how it just has those little plastic bristles. This one is chestnut and this is coffee, and I've been using coffee. I've used it probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. All right, so I like to wipe off the applicator just in case I get any like chunks that are on the bristles. I just kind of run it through like I would any other brow gel. Then what I like to do is I like to take a spoolie and just go through with a clean spoolie and make sure that I don't have any like buildup or any chunks of products sitting anywhere. Recently, I've just been using this and then maybe going with a pencil in just a few sparse areas and leaving it there, because it does give kind of the illusion of a more natural brow. And I always kind of start on the thickest part of my brow and then work my way out towards the tail. And then I bring whatever's left right here in the front. I let it set for a second. I grab just my pencil, my regular pencil that I use, which I've just been using the Dior brow styler in the universal brown, and I'll just kind of go in and like fill in the areas that I need a little bit more, and that's it. Like, my brows have been very easy since I started using that brow gel. Now, of course, you guys know I love my brow blades, so I will reach for my Lime Crime brow blade or the Urban Decay brow blade. It just kind of depends on, you know, what mood I'm in. But anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish my brows and I will be right back. Brows are done, and as you can see, the foundation is starting to kind of like settle into the magic cream that I put on. So it's like when you first put on a powder foundation, it sits on top of the skin. But like as time goes on, it will start to kind of absorb a little bit. It depends on how much you use, which I should have mentioned in the beginning before I applied it. The reason why I use this brush, okay, of course, when you use a brush like this, which is a little bit more fluffy and a little bit wide, the bristles are longer, you're gonna get less coverage, which is the reason why I use this with translucent setting powder. When I'm applying my translucent setting powder, I don't want a lot on because I'm older and I don't like a lot of powder on my face. I just like to be able to put a little bit on and set it, which is the reason why I use a more fluffy brush. Now, if I wanted more coverage using this powder foundation, you can use a more dense brush. So the more dense brush you use, the more coverage you're going to get with a powder foundation. But you will also run the risk of it being too thick and heavy. But you're still wanting to try to make a powder foundation work, but you don't want it to be too thick and cakey. I recommend using your concealer as your coverage. Putting on a concealer, blending it out, putting it on those spots that you want, and then going in with a more loose brush, like loose bristles, bigger brush, because you're not going to get as much coverage. That's the reason why the Blendiful worked and looked so much better on this side, because it basically gave me more coverage than this brush did. It all depends on your coverage. And if you're wanting a very natural kind of powder foundation look, but you're still wanting extra coverage from it, but you don't want it to look like it's sitting on top of the skin, which is one reason why I don't prefer a powder foundation, because it will sit on top of the skin. However, this is starting to kind of settle into the magic cream and starting to look a little bit more realistic. Also, if you're somebody that uses cream contour like I do, you would want a cream contour before you go on with this powder foundation. You're not going to want to put, like I did put a little bit of concealer over top of it, but that's a little bit different than going on with contour. I don't think contour will blend over top of powder foundation very well. So anything cream that you're going to use, whether it's blush, cream contour, cream bronzer, anything cream you're going to want to put on before you put this powder foundation on. Now, I am actually going to use a new bronzer that I picked up. It's a new bronzer to me. It's not new out on the market, but it's a bronzer I've wanted to pick up for a while. It's from CoverFX. Now, these are the Monochromatic bronzer duos. Remember, they had the blushes and then they brought out the bronzers, or maybe they brought the bronzers out before the blushes. I don't know. But anyway, I've been wanting to pick this up for a while, and CoverFX had a sale for the holidays, so I went ahead and grabbed it. I picked up the shade Sunkissed Bronze, and I am super excited to try this. I'm just going to grab a big fluffy bronzer brush, and I'm going to go into this shade right here. Tap off, because I don't know how pigmented it is. and just kind of bring it right here on the contours of my face. I think I'm going to use a little bit more of a compacted brush. I'm going to grab this Charlotte Tilbury brush that I used to apply her bronzer with. I'm going to grab a little bit of this. Just come right here. Yeah, that's a lot of bronzer. I don't ever wear that much bronzer. I probably should have just left it. I think this side looks so much better. But this is a very pigmented bronzer. Like, really pigmented, and I think because I'm used to using the Charlotte Tilbury, which is very, very buildable, it's just one of those that you can build it. This side is much more defined and it doesn't look the best. This side looks a lot better. This bronzer is really pretty, but if you're used to using the Charlotte Tilbury, go in very lightly. Very lightly. Let's move on to blush. I recently picked up this new palette from Mercier. I picked this up on the Sephora website. It was on sale, and I've already like swatched it, so you can kind of see my fingerprints in between here. Let's try this on. Based on just swatching it, this is a very soft powder formula. It has a very soft texture, like just super soft. I'm thinking about just mixing these two colors together. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grab both of them, tap my brush off, and just apply a little bit. This blush is really pretty. It's so soft, and I really like it. And I don't think I've ever used anything from Laura Mercier as far as their blushes, so I was really excited to pick that up. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spray everything. I'm gonna use some setting spray. I have a couple of different options that I could use to kind of make this powder foundation be a little bit more skin-like, instead of just, because this is airbrushed. I will say this does look very airbrushed. This is not near as cakey as I was expecting, because powder foundation has a tendency to be cakey. And this is very, very airbrushed. I don't know that I want to make this dewy. I think I just want to set it. I'm going to use the Morphe setting mist and just spray it. Okay, as soon as I sprayed some setting spray on top of this, this became perfect. Now I don't have that airbrush look. It just kind of like melted the foundation into my skin. I actually love it after spraying it. I was liking it, but it wasn't my thing because it was just a little bit too matte. I love this. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I am going to go in with the lighter shade, which is 220. So normally you guys see me talk about this all the time. I love to use my Charlotte Tilbury powder with the soft cheek brush from Sonia G. These two are like magic. And normally what I do is I grab a tiny bit of this and then I stick it like right here in this area just to kind of smooth it out. So I'm thinking I'm going to put the Charlotte Tilbury on one side. So I'm going to use the number 2 because I think the number 2 might be a little bit closer to this shade. Yeah, I think these two are kind of closer to the shade. I got 2 brushes. I love this brush, so I got 2 of them. So I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury on this side and just smooth this out. Then I'm going to grab the shade 220 from Fenty and I'm going to put it on this side. Okay, so you can still see the Charlotte Tilbury is more smooth, right? I mean, you can see that this is just smooth. And this you can still see, let me come closer. See how this is just more smooth, and this you can still kind of see the pores. So I'm going to go ahead and go over top with the Charlotte Tilbury just to make it look even. But you can see that Charlotte Tilbury powder is magic. It is truly magic. Like up here on my forehead, the powder foundation was starting to get just a little bit, you know, it was starting to settle, but it didn't really look natural. You could see it was sitting on top of the skin. But now that I have set it, it is so pretty. It is just really pretty. and it doesn't look thick and heavy. I'm just so impressed with the way that my skin looks right now. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised. I keep looking in the mirror and the monitor and I'm like, holy crap. This looks so pretty. So let's go ahead and start playing with this palette. And I've already kind of stuck my finger into them. You can see that. This is the new Viseart palette. It's a limited edition. I picked it up on the Sephora website. It's called the Minxette. Etendu. I am horrible at pronouncing things. This is definitely a neutral palette. When I saw it on the Sephora website, I was like, okay, I'll try it. But when I got it, it reminds me of the bronze palette from Natasha Denona. So I will be doing some swatches so you guys can see what this palette looks like next to the bronze palette in case you have the bronze palette. But this is the vibes that this gives me. It's kind of maybe a smaller condensed version of the Natasha Denona bronze palette. So I'm kind of curious to play with this. I think I'm going to go into this shade. I don't want to get much fallout, but... Okay, that shade is very pretty. It's a very pretty kind of orange, copper, peachy color. I mean, isn't that pretty? Okay, I'm gonna grab the reference number 13 and I'm gonna go into this shade right here, like right out here, and kind of buff out those edges with that shade. It's definitely like a fall palette. Like this is definitely giving me fall vibe. I loved the Natasha Denona bronze palette in the fall. Like I just could not stop using it, but I haven't really picked it up in the month, like towards the end of the month of November and then now into December. And I'm gonna bring that shade on my lower lash line. I'm gonna grab this shade right here. I'm just gonna do one of those like traditional fall eyeshadow looks because that's kind of what this palette is. These mattes are blending beautifully. Now I think I'm going to grab this shade. I wanna see what this shade will look like. I'm just gonna put that right over top of the dark colors that we have. Now I think I'm gonna mix between this shade and this shade. So I'm just gonna grab them both and just deepen up this crease right here, just to add a little bit more depth. Okay, now I'm gonna grab my small little like smudge brush and I'm gonna grab this shade right here. I'm gonna concentrate that right here on the lower lash line on the outer corner. So I'm going to take my flat definer brush from Sigma. I'm going to grab this chocolate brown shade on the bottom. Focus that right there on the line. And then I'll go back to that smudge brush that I was using and use that to kind of blend it and diffuse it. And do the exact same thing on the upper waterline or lash line. So for the inner corner, I'm going to grab this shade right here. I'm also going to bring that right up on the brow bone. Okay, so I went ahead and threw on some mascara. And by the way, if you guys have not heard me talk about the new Lancome, this is the Idol mascara. It is my holy grail. Love it so much. I'm starting to get thicker and longer lashes, but I have very fine lashes. And this just gives me so much lash. It doesn't give me raccoon eyes. It doesn't fade. It is amazing. Plus it lifts the lashes. Oh my gosh. The best mascara. Okay, let's move on to the new lip product that I got from Natasha Denona. This is her I Need a Nude lip crayon. I only bought one shade because I wanted to kind of test the formula first. This is in the shade Dana. This is what the shade looks like, and it's just the perfect nude brown. We'll see how lipstick blends into it. So I'm gonna grab this shade from Wayne Goss. This is in the shade Dahlia. And I thought it might go with this eyeshadow look. Let's see. So I don't love this. It might just be the color combination. So I'm going to wipe this off and see if I can get a better combination. So once it sets down, so I'm going over it with this brush. And once it sets down, like, it's not budging. I'm going to put some here on the back of my hand, just like that. And I'm going to leave it and we'll see what it does. It's like I'm having a difficulty now blending the line out. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how I feel about it. So let's try to blend this out. Oh yeah. Okay. So I added, look at that. I can't get it to budge. Look at that. I'm going to press hard. Okay. So these set. These are, that's why I'm struggling with it, because if you allow it time to dry, you can't move it. So, okay, let me try it one more time, you guys. Trial and error. I think I'm going to work in sections on this to blend it. I'm going to apply the lower lip and blend it out, and then apply the upper lip and blend it out. I think that might help. Let's see. Now we might be getting somewhere. It's the trick. You just cannot let this dry before you blend it. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, because before it was like, you know, I would apply it and then I was looking for a different brush. And if you give it time to dry and set up, you can't get it to blend out. And if you're like me and you like to kind of blend your lip liner into your lips so that you don't have like the line, then you got to take your time. You got to blend it out as you're applying it. This looks a lot better. It looks a lot more natural. And before, I just could not get it to blend into the lip, but it was because I was allowing it to dry. I'm going to test it. So I'm going to put one line here and then one line here. Do the countdown on stopwatch, and we're just gonna see how long it takes. Okay, this is 20 seconds. So I'm still able to blend it at 20 seconds. Okay. Okay, now it's been 40 seconds. Now you can see how it starts to set up. See how much better this blended than this? Okay, so this is the final look, and I really like the way that this turned out. For the actual real test, we're going to take you outside and I'm going to show you guys what this foundation and everything looks like in natural daylight. It's around 4 o'clock now, so I have about an hour to get my butt out there in the freezing cold and just show you how this foundation looks. So here we are. I grabbed my coat, which I just got this coat. It's like a terry cloth type of coat. I got it from Vichy, which I'm kind of obsessed with Vichy. You guys see my cute dogs. They're like, why can't I come out? Anyways, I'm obsessed with Vichy collection, and I just got it and I love it. I think it's so stinking cute. So it is 4:20 in the afternoon. So I think I got done pretty much applying the foundation, I would say right around noontime. Okay. So it's been on for only about 4.5 hours, but that's as far as I can go, because it's going to get dark. You know what I mean? So at least you guys can see what it looks like in natural daylight anyway. And I was just kind of looking at it in the mirror, and it actually looks really good. My bronzer is definitely too strong. I do not like my bronzer right now. It's so strong. I definitely flubbed up when I was applying the bronzer. It would have been much better to apply that pigmented of a bronzer with a light fluffy brush versus a compacted brush. So keep that in mind, because the bronzer is just too strong. I mean, way too strong. But right now we're just going to keep it about the foundation. So let's zoom in. We're going to start here first, and everything that I'm seeing, even in my textured area, this foundation looks really good. Right along here, it's actually looking really good. This is the side that I used the Blendful on. This is the side that I used the brush. And I think for me, like, both sides look pretty good. The only thing I'm gonna, worry about is, like, as the day progresses, like with powder foundation, sometimes it will get patchy. Where, the powder will kind of come off of the skin. So I will keep an eye out for that. And I will let you guys know in the comments down below how that works. But along the forehead, I mean, you can see my hyperpigmentation coming through, but it doesn't look bad. I think the bronzer kind of made everything like much more dark and deep up there, but it doesn't look bad. It looks better than I expected. I wasn't expecting the foundation to look pretty decent, especially being that it's a matte powder foundation. I will say it's very soft powder. So that's the thing that I'm liking about it, is that even though it is a powder and it's a matte, it's very soft. So like right here in this area, it looks really good. I would say that's probably my favorite thing about the foundation, is just how good it looks right over top of the pores. My hands are starting to shake. It's like 25 degrees right now. It's so cold. It's really pretty, but it's cold. I hope that this natural daylight footage is helpful for anybody that was, you know, just kind of curious what it looks like without the beauty lights and stuff. Here we are. I just took you guys outside. I hope that that footage was helpful for you. And I'm curious about this foundation. I'm going to continue to wear it, and I will definitely update you guys. I have a new foundation coming from Urban Decay. I think it's called the Hydromaniac or something like that. So I'm going to be testing that out, but I will continue to play with this foundation, and I will definitely update you in the next like week or two and give you a full update on it. So far, I'm impressed, but that doesn't mean that I give it a full stamp of approval. So I hope that the swatches of the Viseart palette and the Natasha Denona bronze palette was helpful in case you guys do have the bronze palette. You can clearly see that they're very, very similar in color story and color shade. So anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. Happy New Year, you all. And I wish for each one of you that is watching right now to have a beautiful, healthy, happy, wonderful 2021. And I love you all so much. And thank you guys so much for all the support that you have given me in the year of 2020. I could not do what I do without your support. So thank you so much. And I will see you all in my next video. Love you. Bye.